Hello and welcome to Route 99. This is DPM045. We have here 5 verbal ability questions. The first question we have here is a para completion question where we're given this sentence which we need to fit into either one of these 4 blanks. Right, let's read the sentence first, then the passage, and we'll try to fit this sentence into one of these blanks. An Aristotelian companion friend B. One who is more interested in having the approval of other friend than in doing what is right by that friend. Okay, so an Aristotelian companion cannot be someone who would confirm, right? He would be one who would go beyond an extra mile and would want to help that friend, who would want to do right to that friend rather than being a conformist. Dash, Aristotle observed that we become just by acting justly. Okay. He did not mean something so banal as the view that justice is simply a matter of mindless repetition. So I could have placed this one here, but don't you feel that this here introduced a topic that you can become just by acting justly, and by that he did not mean mindless repetition. So this here is the introductory topic which is being explained in detail here. Well, this does not make any sense in the first sentence. This is completely irrelevant to the discussion. So 1 as of now cannot be my answer. Rather he was making a profound point about character formation. So do you see there's a clear contrast here. So when he was saying that you become just by acting justly, it did not mean that you repeat things, you just do mindless repetition. What he meant on the contrast was that he made a profound point about character formation. So there is no gap here between these two sentences, so 2 also cannot be my answer. The point being made here is that it is in a like manner that we grasp that we have a sense of worth and so should be treated fairly, namely by being so treated. So giving an example, so how do you achieve a sense of worth? When you're made feel worthy, right? So there's a connection between it. You're made feel worthy, you feel self-worth, you have self-worth, you feel more worthy, more reaffirmation, more self-worth. Just like that, when you act justly, you feel just and you become just, right? So that is the analogy. Dash, and in this regard, parents serve as the point of departure for every child, right? So again, there is also clear connection between. So this self-worth is majorly influenced by parents of every child, right? An individual who has been the beneficiary of abiding parental love is less likely to be that kind of person. What kind of person? So yes, there is a gap between these two sentences. Read this sentence. It says that it talks about some kind of person, which is being repeated here. Said what kind of a person Aristotelian companion would be. He would not be a conformist, but he would be kind of a person who would choose right for his or her friend. So 4th is my correct option. So question 2 and 3 are parajumble type question. We need to arrange these sentences. Thus a change from 2019 where just 3 researchers from the entire continent of Africa were among the thousands of attendees at a major computational linguistic conference. Okay, that's a change from 2019, but change in what sense? So although this could be the starting of some conversation which is explained later, as of now this doesn't seem like my introductory statement. Volunteers have collectively published hundreds of scientific papers, including translation models for at least 38 African languages, and presented several workshops at major AI conference. Again, there is nothing clear as of now. I cannot decide whether this is my introductory statement or not. Mashken's most lasting legacy may be its people. Okay. For many volunteers, Mashken has been a stepping stone towards pursuing academic research on AI, and the project has created a pipeline of AI research who are native speaker of African language. So for Maskin, its lasting legacy was its people. And for these people, so do you see there any other reference for people here? Here there is some reference, but this is a very broad point. This if you see here, it talks about that it acted as a stepping stone towards pursuing academic research for many volunteers, in the sense many people. That is why it is its lasting legacy. So 3 and 4 has to come together. Now I have the choice between 2 and 1. So it says that's a change from 2019. So this could be very valid, that earlier there were no people in AI from Africa, but now we have a lot of them. But if you see second one here, second says that various African published several paper, everything, and that is a major leap from 2019. So don't you think 2 and 1 arranges better rather than 1 and 2? Hence 3, 4, 2, 1 is my correct option. The exhibit focused on the day-to-day experience of inmate at the old Lawton Reformatory in Fairfax, Virginia, a federal prison for DC offenders that was operational until 2001. Okay, it talks about some exhibit. It could be the introductory statement. When later parts of this paragraph they talk more about exhibit, but as of now it seems that this exhibit is a reference. To understand the role of museum in depicting society's imprisoned segments, I found myself exploring our museum's archive. The museum offered visitors an unfiltered glimpses into prison life, effectively cushioning the museum's societal role and responsibilities. Okay. So this here talks about some exhibit, and this says the museum offered. So do you see the connection between 1 and 3? So this exhibit is focused on day-to-day experience of inmates at old Lawton Reformatory, and this here has been referred to as a museum. So there is a connection between 1 and 3. So 1 and 3 has to come together like this. I discovered that our founder John Kinnard had already grappled with the question back in 1970s through an eye-opening exhibit. Okay, so again there is a connection between this as well. Eye-opening exhibit. Okay, so 4 and 1 are connected. This was through an eye-opening exhibit. Right, and what is that question which has already been grappled by their founder? To understand the role of museum. So 2 has to go here. So 2, 4, 1, 3 comes out to be my final arrangement. The personalization that platforms claims to offer us is dying. Okay, the personalization is dying. Maybe it never existed, but the claim which they used to claim is now dying. Platforms like Amazon, Uber and Netflix all took something that was more or less working. Okay, so the things were already working. Amazon took something which was already working. Uber, Netflix took something which was already working. But what they offered different was, so they offered bookstore, taxis and cable. So this was already existing. This took something which was working and promised us something better. This could have been read directly from here to here. That they were promised us something that was already more or less working, and they took it and they promised us something better. It worked for a while. It also worked for a while. In the starting it worked as well. We still get cheap books and other items, rides and TV from these sites. Okay, they are still working a bit. However, the promise of platform production is personalization. But the core promise of the platforms were personalization. They know what product you might like, what shows you want to watch, and who you want to date. Right. So this was the kind of personalization they were providing. When the bottoms comes out from the model, what is that bottom? The core ideology of, maybe then by bottom they meant support. Right. When the support comes out of the model, though, because his financing is unsustainable and his labor is rebelling, the fancy algorithm stops mattering as much. So when the main crux of it, the basic thing of it comes out from the model, the algorithm stops mattering much. Then the option gets fewer. the costs go up and the job get worse. Living with algorithm goes from being delightful to being degraded copy of the capitalism that preceded it. Right. So after that, when this has happened, when the algorithm has stopped mattering much because of these many issues, so the however fancy the algorithm is good is, this becomes a little irrelevant. Right. It becomes a little less delightful. Let's read the option. The core promise of platform is personalization based on algorithm. But is personalization based on algorithm? Has this ever been mentioned? So this is outright wrong. Platforms like Amazon, Uber and Netflix have failed in their promise of personalization. True, because they succumb. Have they failed because they succumb to capitalist framework of focusing on bottom lines? So the bottom has been mentioned. But has this been mentioned that they have failed because they bowed down to the capitalist framework? The answer is no. While the promise of platform is personalization, these platforms fail to fulfill that promise due to are they failing to fulfill that promise due to fancy algorithms, or just the fancy algorithms are getting irrelevant day by day? So this is also wrong. The initial promise of personalized experience by platform is deteriorating. True, due to unsustainable financing, labor issues leading to declining quality and options. Options remain few, quality declining. The initial promise of personalization deteriorating now because of unsustainable financing and labor issues. This seems like a perfect summary which includes everything. Hence this is my correct option. Last, final, summary based question. Understanding ancient pre-Hispanic cultures like Mexica, commonly known as Aztec, is a complex endeavor for modern scholars. So it is a complex task for modern scholar to understand Hispanic cultures like Mexica, which is commonly called Aztec. The Mexica engaged in large-scale human sacrifice, not primarily for territorial gain, but for deeply entrenched religious practices. Various theories attempt to explain this ritualistic violence. Okay, so the author says that it is hard for scholars to understand the Mexican culture, old Mexican culture. There have been, this is an example that there have been lot of mass scale violence, but the reason behind this mass scale violence remains unclear, right? So it is not just for territorial gain. It was not primarily for territorial gain. They did not wanted to expand their territory, the region of their sovereign, but these practices were deeply entrenched in their religious practices. This mass killing was rather religious. So various theories have made an attempt to understand these ritualistic violence. What were those attempts? Some archaeologists suggest the Mexica were reenacting creation myths, while others believe that they feared natural calamities like drought if sacrifices ceased. So some used to believe that this is just a reinforcement of creation of myth. Others believe that they used to fear if they would stop this violence, if they would start sacrificing, killing people, there would be natural calamities in the country. Marx's interpretation argues that ruling class used sacrifices to intimidate the working class. There is also another argument which says that those killings were used to those sacrifices were used to intimidate the working class. Despite these plausible explanations, a definitive understanding remains elusive. So, although there have been various alternative explanations have been proposed, the understanding remains unclear yet. Even contemporary experts well versed in Mexica cultures and archaeology admit that the real reason may be beyond our current grasp, exemplifying the challenge of fully understanding these ancient societies. So the people who are very good with Mexica culture, they are also a little they are also not very clear. They also say that this is as of now beyond our current grasp, and this shows that we yet do not fully understand the ancient societies. Understanding the ritualistic human sacrifices carried out by ancient Mexica culture is complex and not fully understood. Yes, true, but this seems like a rather general statement and seems a little partial, right? Let's just keep this. Apart from that, there is nothing wrong about it. Ancient Mexica culture performed human sacrifices not for territorial expansion, true, but these sacrifices were deeply rooted in religious practices. Just these two, right? It seems like it has only considered these two lines and just restated it, and has not considered any other point about this being yet to be fully understood, problems of this and understanding it. Anything else has not been covered, just the two lines. So this is of course the wrong summary. Ancient pre-Hispanic societies like the Mexica engaged in large-scale human sacrifices for which many reasons are suggested. True, but what about the thing that they are not yet fully understood? This is beyond our current grasp, etc. etc. Just that it is hard to understand as of now, and many reasons are suggested. This, although good summary, this is partial, so this cannot be my answer. The reason behind the human sacrifices during the ancient Mexica cannot be fully understood due to lack of knowledge of its culture? No, there are already experts on Mexican culture who understand Mexican culture and archaeology. So the question is not lack of knowledge of its culture. The question is something else. Hence first is my correct option. So that was the video guys. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, stay tuned. Keep watching Route 99.